and welcome to Auto Shenanigans. How the devil are you? Have you had a good week? My name is John. Thank you very much for joining me for another exciting episode of Secrets of the Motorway. This week we'll be continuing with the M25. In the last episode we'd made it from the motorway start around to Junction 10, which, as we established, is a complete shit show and most likely will remain that way forevermore. Accordingly, I'm not going anywhere near it, and instead I'm just off the motorway between Junctions 10 and 11 at Brooklands, the old airfield and racetrack. Brooklands is perhaps world famous, opening in 1907 as the first purpose-built banked racing circuit. Racing would come to an end in 1939 for some reason, but at that point aircraft manufacturer Vickers Armstrong would move in. The same aircraft manufacturer would also operate out of the nearby Wisley Airfield, which we looked at in the previous episode. Today at the Brooklands site you'll find the Brooklands Museum, and whilst it's not cheap to get in, on this occasion I'd say it's worth it. You'll have a great time. Motorway stuff then. M25, Junction 11. It's an ordinary roundabout style junction where we find St Peter's Way. For a short distance either side of the junction, St Peter's Way runs as a dual carriageway before ending at a roundabout. There are rumours of plans that would have seen these dual carriageways extended to the M3, and to the east it would have run up to Heathrow Terminal 4, although I'm not sure how they'd have managed that. And neither did they, clearly, as the plan was never carried out, resulting in two short dual carriageways that seemed to be pointless. Just before Junction 12 and the motorway passes underneath the Lynn or Line Railway Bridge, you won't miss its 100-foot concrete support towers that make up part of this cable-stayed bridge. It's similar to a suspension bridge, but unlike a suspension bridge which supports its main deck with two towers at each end, the main deck is supported centrally by a pair of towers, and this offers a far more rigid solution. This was discovered to be quite important when it comes to trains. You don't want your bridge to be moving around all over the place, and it's why you rarely see railway suspension bridges. Technically, this bridge is a job well done, but look at it, it's hideous. Although, do I like the fact that it's hideous? I think I do. Junction 12 is where the M25 and the M3 motorways meet, and it's brilliant. It's what's known as a turbine interchange, and it offers free-flowing traffic movements in all directions. It's known as the Thorp Interchange. It cost £12 million and it opened in 1980. Beautifully placed between the sewer works and the motorway interchange is the Lynn or Line motocross track. It's operated by the Runnymede Youth Motorcycle Club, a non-profit voluntary organisation that give younger people the opportunity to have a go at trials riding. The track has been here since 1972, so it predates the M25. Back then it was run by the Pit Stop Youth Club, so I think it's fair to say that this track is all about giving opportunities to younger people, and that's just great. Just before Junction 13 and the motorway crosses over the River Thames on the Runnymede Bridge. Before the motorway was built, they constructed a bridge here in 1961 to carry the A30 across the river. This bridge is a bit of a cheat. Whilst it may look lovely with its brickwork and whatnot, it's actually nothing more than a bit of steel and concrete dressed up to look like a brick-made structure. When the motorway came along, a wider bridge was needed, and whilst they could have extended the existing bridge, replicating its brickwork appearance, this time they couldn't be bothered and used concrete instead. Interestingly, as a result of all of this bridge widening, there are now 14 lanes of traffic crossing the River Thames here, making it possibly the widest bridge on the motorway network. In a moment we're going to take a look at another bridge, but before we do I need to explain that nearby is a small airfield known as Heathrow, and this means I can't fly the drone about. So we're going to skip over some stuff, but worth a quick mention is Junction 14 that saw massive expansion following the construction of Heathrow's Terminal 5, and Junction 15, aka the Thorny Interchange. The Thorny Interchange is a motorway-to-motorway interchange between the M25 and the M4, and it's one of only a few four-level stack interchanges. Its most unique feature perhaps is that it has a railway running through the middle. Now about that bridge, between Junctions 14 and 15 is where the A4 passes over the motorway, and it does so because this road was realigned following the motorway's construction. The result of this is now an abandoned road bridge to the side of the motorway. The A4 or Colnbrook bypass would have crossed over the Wraysbury River via this bridge, but a new bridge was constructed along with the M25 and this one has been forgotten about. A short distance up from Junction 15 is where we find a secret junction. It was built as a turning around point for emergency and maintenance vehicles and originally didn't feature much by way of gates or barriers, meaning that for quite a while it was used by locals as an unofficial junction and as an escape route for when the M25 inevitably shit itself. This didn't really sit too well with Highways Agency, who have since installed gates. There's another secret junction just the other side of Junction 16. These two secret junctions exist because between Junctions 14 and 17 there are only motorway-to-motorway interchanges. You haven't got any way to leave the motorway, and that's not very helpful in an emergency situation or when you want to send a gritter truck up and down during bad weather. Next up is surely the most famous and well-known landmark on any of our motorways. It's the Chalfont Viaduct, better known as Pease Bridge. It all began, allegedly, when a London-based graffiti artist known as Pease tagged the viaduct with his tag. For a while, that's how it stayed, until one day more words appeared alongside, giving us the slogan, "Give Peas a Chance." It's not clear as to who made these additions. It may well have been the original graffiti artist known as Peas, we're not sure, and it would stay that way until 2018, at which point the viaduct was altered and it now read Helch, a chance taken. Helch is a fairly well-known graffiti artist in southern England. The name has popped up on several different pieces of infrastructure, from motorway bridges to railway bridges, but on this occasion, to say that Helch pissed everybody off was a bit of an understatement, with the story reaching media outlets across the country. It seems that Helch took notice, with the words "Give Helch a break" appearing on the viaduct a few days later. Since then, the viaduct has become the location of a war between graffiti artists, with a new slogan reading "Thank you NHS" appearing in 2020. This was then replaced by "Helter Skelter" in 2021, and it would appear that in more recent times, Helch has been back to leave his or her mark on the bridge. Side note, if anybody knows who Helch is, let me know, I'd love to get in touch. Moving on, and there's a junction that you can't use to be found just before Junction 17. Signed as works access only, it was built to allow access to a construction site relating to HS2. Just by the motorway is a huge construction site, all revolving around HS2 and the Chiltern Hills Tunnel, for it's at this location we find the tunnel's southern portal, and it's also the point at which they started to dig this new railway tunnel. Despite the HS2 project mostly being cancelled, this is one part of it that they're going to have to see through to the end. It's a bit late, you can't really undo a tunnel. Junction 19 is a limited access junction that came about as a result of that failed ringways project. Today, the motorway heads to the north and up to Junction 20, but that wasn't always the intention. The original 1960s ringway plan suggests that the motorway would have followed this route along what's known as the North Orbital Road, or the A405, and whilst a lot of the road was built, it was never completed fully before the project was cancelled. This meant that road planners just had to make do, and as a result, the motorway was sent to the north, and Junction 19 is now a limited access junction with really long slip roads. We'll discuss all of this a bit more in the next episode. Junction 20 is a standard roundabout junction, but it could very nearly have been a motorway-to-motorway interchange. The A41M was a proposed motorway that would have run from Tring to Watford, but in 1987 it was decided to make it an A road instead. That said, the route of today's A41 follows that of the original motorway plan quite closely, and if the junctions were revised to motorway standards, it could be converted to a motorway, but that's very unlikely to happen. After Junction 20, and the motorway crosses over the Gade Valley on a 450-metre long viaduct, sensibly named the Gade Valley Viaduct. It was constructed in the 1980s, so it's a fairly uninteresting steel box girder type bridge with a bit of concrete, but it is one of the larger bridges on the motorway. The viaduct has recently seen the completion of a 7-year repair programme which saw the structure strengthened and its bearings replaced. And there we are then, guys, that's all we've got time for this week. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you liked the video. If you did, there is of course a button specifically for that, and if you haven't subscribed already, please consider doing so. That would be wicked sweet awesome. Enjoy the rest of your week, whatever it is you get up to. My name's John, you've been watching Auto Shenanigans, and I'll see you guys next time for another exciting episode of Secrets of the Motorway. Till then, take care, bye bye.